Well, greetings viewers and voyeurs with gothatfunk, and this is a video response to a comment I got in yesterday's video from a viewer of mine called Gaglamesh. I hope I pronounced your name right anyway. The question was, how do I define spirituality outside of a religious context, without reference to God or dogma or souls or anything like that? And that is a really, really good question. I've actually been asked it before. Surprisingly, though, I've never really gotten around to making a video directly answering the question. So I thought I would do that right now. First of all, let me make it very clear that I'm only speaking for myself. I have observed throughout my adult life that when people use the term spiritual or spirituality, every single person using that term seems to mean something slightly different by it. So this is what I mean when I use it. I'm only speaking for myself. I don't expect anyone to agree with me or to necessarily see it my way. Okay? So let's just make sure that we're clear about that. And let me make sure that we also understand what I don't mean when I say my spirit or spiritual. Okay? When I say my spirit, I do not mean that I think there's some kind of ghost in the machine and the machine is me. I don't believe that for one moment. I don't believe that there's, I'm not a puppet, basically. I am a natural entity, a biological entity. And that's what I am. I don't believe that I have a soul, okay? So I don't mean spirit in the sense of a soul, okay? So now that I've got that clear, I'll take you on a little detour before I get to the meat and bones of this conversation. In 1965, my grandfather was given 2 or 3 years to live because he had a very serious heart condition. And my granddad told me that he was too young to die at that time, and he wanted to live long enough to see me and my sister grow up. As it happened, my grandfather died in the year 1980, which is the year I turned 18. And 15 years after he was given 2 or 3 years to live. And his will to live was part of what kept him alive. That's a fact. When they did the autopsy after he died, they said that several of his organs had effectively died long before the rest of his body had died. They had ceased to function. So, yeah, I believe very strongly that my grandfather stayed alive for as long as he did because he wanted to. I feel the same way about my natural father at the moment. He's struggling, but he's had cancer off and on since the middle of the 80s, and he's kicked it 4 times. And, the doctors have written him off every single time, and he's always managed to come back. And my dad would be the first one to say that's because he's got a strong spirit. He doesn't want to go. So part of what I mean when I say my spirit is my will to live. But it's not just that. It's also my appreciation for living. When I see something beautiful, be it a sunset or the Grand Canyon or the stars at night, when I experience something beautiful, like making love or, whatever, to me, those are spiritual experiences. And I call them spiritual experiences because describing them any other way just seems insufficient to me, because they affect the totality of my being. What am I? I am a natural, organic being. And in my mind, I am comprised of an ego and a personality. I've got an intellect. I've got an emotional awareness, and so forth. Okay? But any of those aspects don't really answer the question. It's the totality of them all together, combined with what I exude in the way that I live my life. Most people who meet you will recognize that there's something distinct about you, and it's not just the way you look. It's about, as I say, the energy that you exude, the aura, if you will, that you exude. And a lot of that comes down to your attitude about life, how much you love it or not, and so forth. So the totality of all that stuff together is what I mean when I say my spirit, or when I talk about myself as a spiritual person. When I describe an experience as a spiritual experience, it's simply my way of saying this moved me so deeply on so many levels that any other explanation would just be insufficient. It wouldn't answer the question about why I was so moved. So that's what I mean, in part anyway, when I talk about atheist spirituality. I actually shot another video on this subject for Princess Ananiki in the forest a couple of weekends ago. However, I have lost the USB cable for my Digicam, and so I haven't been able to load it onto my laptop yet. So I will revisit this topic some point in the future. But for now, if you've got any questions, I'd love to hear them down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Until next time, thanks for watching, and may all your ups and downs be ups.